You may have heard the term co-op in an engineering program, but what exactly is the engineering co-op program and why is it such a big deal to engineering students in all universities? So in this video, basically, I'll talk about all the things you'll need to know about the co-op program, the engineering co-op program, coming from a Canadian university engineering student. I'm in mechanical engineering in my 4th year currently. So basically, I'm going to be talking about generally what the engineering co-op program is. However, it's really important that you look into your university's specific details just so you can make sure like, oh, okay, this guy's talking about all of this. Just want to make sure that this applies to me as well. But generally, all the things that I should be talking about should in one way or another apply to all the other university engineering co-op programs. So yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the first question. What is the engineering co-op program? So the ENG program, also known as the engineering cooperative program, is a type of engineering program which extends your degree from 4 years to 5 years. So extends your degree by 1 year. Now the degree is extended to allow students to get that engineering work experience, that valuable student engineering work experience. So let me explain this a little more by talking about the traditional case versus the co-op case. So in the traditional case, you have those 4 regular years, right? So in the fall and winter, you're going to be in school studying. And then during the summer, you're going to be off until the next fall and winter terms, right? So this goes on back and forth until you graduate after 4 years. But in the engineering co-op program, you get placed into what we call a sequence plan. And the sequence plans tell you exactly how a work term or a study term is organized throughout your 5-year degree. A work term is exactly how it sounds like. It's the time period where you will go to work to gain that engineering student work experience. And in the co-op program, there's a total of 20 months of possible engineering work experience that you can gain. On the other hand, an academic term is basically a term where you're back studying at the university. Also, it's good to know one term, whether it's a work term or academic term, is 4 months. So 2 work terms, for example, in a row is a 8-month work term, kind of. Yeah, that's what I'll be using as the kind of wording throughout this video. So next, how do you even get into the engineering co-op program? So in my university, we start off with a general first year of engineering, and this is basically where you're not given a discipline yet. Like, you don't get to choose right off the bat what discipline you want to go to. But after that first year, you'll be applying for a discipline, whatever program you want to get into, and then you'll be applying for that discipline and you'll apply for the plan, the co-op plan of that discipline that you want to go into. It's also good to note that co-op programs sometimes require higher GPAs depending on the university, but even if you don't have a high GPA, just try. There's some circumstances where you don't necessarily need a high GPA to get into co-op, so shoot your shot if you really want to go into co-op. Now, as I mentioned, throughout your co-op program, you're going to be following a set sequence of work terms and study terms. Now, this is what I call a plan. And in my university, we call these plan 1, plan 2. So it'll be like, for example, my program, mechanical engineering plan 1, right? So I have a set organization of work terms and study terms based on plan 1. There can be a bunch of plans for each discipline. Like for my discipline, it goes from 1 to 4. So there's 4 possible organizations of these work terms or study terms, and a little bit of weirdness, I guess you could say, because one of them is biomed. To better explain what these plans are, let's consider the co-op plan 1 I'm in and compare that to the traditional route. If we disregard the first general year, since traditional has 4 years total, A trad sequence is simply fall, winter academic terms, spring, summer off, and back to fall and winter, which continues until the end of the degree. For our co-op program example, Mechie Co-op Plan 1, we start off similarly to trad with a fall and winter term to kick off year 2, but then we have a summer and fall work term for 8 months, then a 4-month academic term in the winter term, then another 8-month co-op term, then you have academic terms for 8 months, then a quick 4-month work term, and then you finish the degree off with a 4-month academic term, which concludes your 5 years of engineering school. As I mentioned, there are other sequences that you can apply for, an example being our Mechie Co-op Plan 4, which looks more like this. Here you can see an entire 12-month work term is possible as well. In my experience though, students like to opt in for Plan 1 because you get a decent amount of time with 2 companies and then get to dip your toes in another industry with the quick 4-month term. This allows you to get a better understanding of more industries compared to Plan 4, where you get a more competent and deeper understanding in your longer placement, but you are exposed to less industries. Both plans also have their first work experience term sometime after the entire second academic year, which is nice for students to gain some engineering knowledge before going into their first placement. For these reasons, these two are the more popular plans for mechanical engineering in our university, with Plan 2 being another less popular option and Plan 3 being the biomedical option. But depending on your discipline, there may only be one or a couple of plans that you can actually choose from. Co-op terms also have the possibility of actually being split into shorter terms for multiple companies. So, for example, if I have an 8-month work term coming up, I may just split it up into 2 4-month work terms to work for 2 different companies instead of 1 for 8 months. There is some flexibility in moving academic terms around if you like. If you want to extend your degree further to take on less workload per term, to focus on other things like extracurriculars, part-time job, or even just to open up some spare time. Okay, so we've covered a lot so far, but I want to know from you guys, have you ever considered joining an engineering co-op program? If you have, please let me know in the comments below, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask and I'll try to get to those as well, because I'm just trying to help you guys out. So now we'll cover how the actual application process of co-op looks like. Now for my university, you're free to go with whatever means necessary to go find a co-op job, whether that be scouring online or using one of the tools that the engineering faculty will give you. Like in my university, we have a job portal where employers can post their co-op specific jobs to that portal to make it way easier for co-op students to find and apply to these jobs. Co-op interviews themselves are also not that different from regular job interviews, in the sense that they'll ask you those generic like what's your biggest strength and your biggest weakness kind of questions, but other questions pertaining to that job may come up as well. For example, if you're going for a more technical job, they may ask you more technical questions, or if you're going for a project management job, they may ask you more project management related questions. So yeah, it'll be all of those generic job interview questions along with those job-specific questions. And that's why extracurriculars are so important in engineering. You'll be able to develop soft skills, more knowledge that you wouldn't be able to develop or learn in your actual engineering program, giving you an edge against all the other students who may not have actually went on to not join an extracurricular. Join an extracurricular, join a club, join a club, join a club. You gotta join a club. So after you go through the interview, the application process, you finally get the job. But what does an engineering co-op placement even look like? There's so many possibilities of what an engineering work term can look like. It's basically impossible for me to list them all or go over all of them. But basically, it can be from working at a lab or a field for many hours, night or day, driving or flying around to various sites or projects, to a simple 9 to 5 office position. Or there's even instances where students work from home or work remotely and stuff like that. So yeah, there's just so many possibilities. And coming from a fellow co-op student, it's really good to remember that that first co-op work term may not actually be related to your discipline, and that's okay, because you are basically fresh. You know nothing about the industry, right? So it's really important that you may not be able to get that work experience directly, maybe in mechanical engineering like I'm in, but just because I learned in maybe something that's more electrical or more civil related, this is still a lot of valuable experience that you can use to get more soft skills and basically just get that engineering knowledge as a whole, like get all that interdisciplinary knowledge that would make you a better engineer in the future. So for those co-op terms later down the road, students will be looking more for that higher paying position, or for positions that are directly under the supervision of a professional engineer. Working under a PEng or professional engineer is good because it gives you the experience that you need in order to apply to become a professional engineer in the future. So you're basically getting that work experience that you would need after your degree, during your degree, but that's speaking more on a Canadian perspective. So you'll also want to check your country or wherever you are, the laws there on becoming an actual certified licensed engineer. Now during these placements, the university may also reach out to you and your supervisor just to see how things are going, just run a quick interview with you guys, make sure that everything is moving smoothly, and see what you've been up to for the past how many months you've been there. Now, you'll also get work term assignments as well during your co-op work terms, and these are just quick assignments that happen every 4 months of your work, and the assignments aren't terribly difficult. They'll just be anything in the realm of what it means to work as an engineer. Now, coming from someone that has gone through 2 8-month work terms so far, my best advice is to never assume while you're on a work term. It's always good to ask questions and to continually learn throughout your work terms, because everyone knows that you are a student, so your job is to learn and to grow, develop, and to show your potential so that perhaps later down the road you can join these companies again in the future. And just to go off of that, another really important piece of advice that I would have is that it's really important to make connections during these work terms, especially if you're in an industry where you want to go into again in the future. But even if you're not in the industry that you want to take on in the future, still great references and great work experience again. Another one of my favorite things to mention is if you position yourself right, loyalty in a company in your career can get you so far, it's ridiculous. There are instances of people starting in a company as a co-op student, not necessarily even in the engineering co-op program, and sticking with this company for years and years and years to eventually become company leadership, like in the case of Mary Barra, the CEO of General Motors, who worked for General Motors since 18 years old. So yeah. So now I've talked a little bit about how the engineering co-op program works, but you may be wondering, what does each engineering discipline even do? So I made a video right here interviewing each engineering interviewing each engineering discipline to get these questions asked and answered from students in each discipline, which can help you out if you're interested in that. As always, if you found value in this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and please comment down below. Comment down below, because I'm actually interested to hear what kind of questions that you guys would have regarding engineering university or co-op or whatever. Leave those comments below. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Farewell, farewell, my G, farewell.